are you, doll?
Hi, how are you?
I am fantastic. I'm super excited to jump in with you.
Thank you. Same here. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we're just going to keep this very conversational, love. So, why
Okay.
don't you start by just letting the ladies listening know how you found yourself on this journey?
I got married at the age of 40, but I always wanted to have children, right? And I met with my husband, and within 3 months we got married. And yeah, it was love at first sight. And I mean, I knew what I was looking for until 40, right? So we both wanted to have children, and we immediately started, I mean, trying, but it wasn't happening. The time passed. I also thought I did what I was supposed to do. I froze my eggs. I did 3 cycles of egg freezing when I was 38, 37, and 38. So I was thinking, but I couldn't produce much eggs because I was apparently I had diminished ovarian reserve. With 3 cycles, I only had 7 eggs. It was just like a very low number. And when we got married, we didn't even think that we could use those eggs because that was just, I never heard of anybody who used their eggs from prior freezing. So we started again IVF journey with my husband, who had no idea about what was going on. So, but I had 1 cycle of egg freezing in one clinic in Beverly Hills, which I wasn't happy about. Then I'm originally from Turkey, so I did some research back then, and I did 2 egg freezing in Turkey. So imagine, like, my eggs were all over, but I didn't
Beverly
have.
Hills, Turkey. That's
Yeah,
great.
and I didn't even have. I mean, I don't even know whether I could produce any eggs at the age of 40. And we didn't want to travel to Turkey, right? And and Beverly Hills option, there wasn't an option because I didn't like that clinic. So I started searching, and we went to 3 different fertility doctors, and they all were like, okay, I mean, because you don't have much reserve. And my AMH, I don't know if probably your listeners would know, AMH is kind of indicative of how many eggs you would have. It's like 0.0 something. So, it's just like very difficult, but they were kind of, okay, let's try. So after 3 different doctors and countless of like testings, we said, okay, this is not going anywhere. Let me go back to Turkey again, because this is the clinic and that I trust at least, and they seem like they know what they were doing. So the journey started again, and we traveled there, we tried, and my body wasn't responding. It was just, I mean, not only I didn't have eggs, but also my body wasn't responding well. And after 19 days of medications, usually it's like 10 days, right? Mine was like minimum, I had like 17 days, but 19 days of like continuous highest dose, like Gonalef, I was taking 650. It was just highest dose, but then they had to they couldn't even retrieve the egg. Somehow I released it. They were monitoring 1 egg. So it was a failure. But we wanted to keep trying. Then we went there again. But my doctor said, promise me you have to do this myomectomy, because not only I had this egg issue, but also I had these gigantic fibroids that I had to do surgery. I was so scared. I mean, it's also all these treatments and procedures were just like so hard on my body. I didn't want to have this big surgery. So I had, I wanted to try again, and I tried again. Another, this time at least we had the egg, but we transferred it, but it was very low quality, but it didn't work out. So this actually continued. I mean, I got married 2018, right? And then this continued until 2020. So the total trips that I had, 12 round trips to Turkey.
Did you tell me you have platinum status on Turkish Airlines?
Yes, I will tell you. I mean, well, actually, this is including the egg freezing, but still like 12 trips, right? So I had this a few times try of failures for IVF. Then I said, okay. And also, apparently, these medication made my fibroids grew further, and my symptoms were just like so bad. And I said, okay. After I came back in 2019, 3 weeks later, we were in the plane trying to have a surgery, and I had that myomectomy, which was a very difficult surgery. But after that surgery, doctor asked me to the surgeon. I found a surgeon. They did it robotically, and he said, just wait 6 months to try. But within 3 months, despite we were actually using protection, I got pregnant. It was like, I said, no way, it's not happening, right? I mean, how on earth, like with me, like with this AMH, it's not real. And I couldn't believe, but I was pregnant. So we were just so happy, and like I was so happy that I had the surgery. But unfortunately, it ended up with miscarriage 3 months later. And that was very hard. And first, I thought that, I mean, I didn't even deserve this pregnancy, right? I didn't work for it, although I did like all these treatments. But it was such a wonderful feeling. But then we went back, and we started all over, and we didn't know where to start. We said, okay, when I had egg freezing in Beverly Hills, I froze one egg. I said, and also that's the time where we had the COVID, and we couldn't travel, and with the lockdown and everything, and even the clinics weren't open. So we said, okay, let's actually give this one egg a chance, right? I mean, I was just that desperate. So we went through this frozen embryo transfer cycle, and we had the hysteroscopies, but somehow it just like doctor kept like delaying the procedures. I was on the estrogen for 4 months, I think. It was just like I was bloated, and I'm still like bloated, but it was just like I was swollen and all kind of symptoms. We were waiting, and unfortunately, when they thawed the egg, it became an embryo, but I think it was just very low quality and they didn't transfer. They couldn't transfer. So that was kind of okay. Like I kind of knew that I cannot trust this egg freezing things, but at least we tried. Then we said, okay, let's go back to Turkey again. And then we traveled, and there was COVID lockdown over there. It was even, we had to get a special permit because the hospital, the clinic was open. But since lockdown, we weren't allowed to leave home. But with our permit, we were actually going back and forth to the clinic. Then, because I wanted to do the pooling, I wanted to do more retrieval. But that actually didn't end up well, despite having all these injections, and they couldn't. They had the retrieval, but it was very low quality, the embryo. And we tried one more time, but then we said, okay, I think that's, not happening for us. Let's try to see those eggs that we froze in Turkey. And over there, they said they thawed the eggs for somebody else before, although this clinic is huge, like they do 7,000 egg retrievals a year. But again, for the for somebody like me who froze the eggs, they never had a live birth, and like in my case. So we said, okay, let's try. If not, we'll look into other options. So they thawed the eggs, and we had 3 amazing embryos. Okay, so out of 6 eggs, we had 3 amazing grades, like 5AA, 4AA, and 5AB.
Wow.
I was like shocked, like in disbelief. I'm like, okay, I don't know, maybe just it's meant to be. So, but they said, okay, then you have to, because I have to come back, and they said, okay, we have to do the genetic testing, because although they look good, but because of my previous miscarriage, we didn't want to take the chance. So I came back, and they did, and a week or 10 days later, they called me and they said, okay, great news. One is normal, one is mosaic, and the other one is abnormal. So we were like very happy, but we only have one chance, right? So we went back again. This is our 12th trip, which was in April 2021. And we started for the transfer process. And I knew that it was going to happen some way, but at the same time, my logical mind was keep telling me, okay, you did all these things, it didn't work. How is it going to work for you? And even because I was on the Facebook groups of all these women, they keep saying, oh, I checked on day 6 after the transfer, or day 7, and it's like 2 lines. And before the blood test, I said, let me check. And I checked, and it was negative. I was like, crying, and I said to my husband, it's just like, I mean, that's it. We don't even know that we were going to try the mosaic ones. But we wanted to actually go back to Los Angeles, and even I told my husband, I said, I'm not going to tell my parents, okay? We're going to tell them after the blood work. We don't know yet because, I mean, not only my family, the whole village, like, is behind me, right? I mean, they're waiting. So I couldn't just handle their heartache. So, but we went to the hospital that day, and the nurse said, "You're pregnant." And I said, I was frozen. I didn't say anything. And I looked at my husband and he said, "Really?" I said, "I checked. It wasn't." So she's like, "No, no, no, you're pregnant." So that was, I think, after my son's birth, like, that was one of the best days of my life. So then, we were pregnant. We were so happy. Although, I had the most difficult pregnancy ever with all these conditions like preeclampsia, placenta previa, placenta accreta, and gestational diabetes. You name it, I had it. But it was, yeah. And finally, my son was born on January 18th this year, and I'm 44. So it just, and I wanted to thank you because I first got your book. I read your book, and you really talked to me at the time. Then I was listening your podcast all along, and and especially the stories and interviews that you made with other women, I felt like, okay, it could be me. So you really gave me hope. And also, one time you said, your desire to become a mom is meant for you. So it's part of your story, right? And I said, because I have this desire, so it's meant for me. So it was, thank you for that. And I think whoever has that desire, so one way or another, the road may not be the easiest one. Definitely mine wasn't easy. But so it's maybe meant for you. So thank you.
This is such an incredible story, Fatma, that, there's so many different directions that we can go with this, but I really want to zero in on some of the details that you gave us because they're extremely compelling.
Mm-hmm.
In your 40s, when you have virtually undetectable AMH, 0.0 something, as you said.
Yes.
And prior attempts at freezing your eggs that didn't give you the 75 that you thought you needed, right?
Yes.
It's really easy for us to get very stuck in the statistics. I want you to share, what was it that kept you moving forward and saying yes? Because you had a lot of reasons to say no.
Yes. And that's one of one time you also mentioned about those statistics. It's just, those statistics are usually the average, right? And I mean, we're not average. I mean, we could be, I mean, that's what you made me believe in that. I mean, also, it's not easy. Like my mind sometimes, like I did a lot of research online, and I even learned how to read medical journals and all these studies. But again, these are all statistics. And also, even those forums and Facebook groups, people usually like online reviews when they put there all the negative things, right? They don't always share the positive. And also, I mean, as you said, we're not statistics. We're ourselves, and every day is again, we could have miracles.
That's so true, Fatma. I mean, I love that you're sharing this, because there was something in you that came alive and said, I am not a statistic. And I think you're absolutely right, because we naturally will look at all the negative stuff, right? It's almost addictive, it's like sugar. We
Yeah.
just want to look at the negative. We want to, misery loves company. Remember that. You have miserable people coming together and wanting to commiserate. But there was something about you, Fatma, that said, you know what? I'm not going to be listening to all this negative stuff. I am not average. I mean, that's massive. The fact that you were willing to accept the fact that you are not average, that you were going to be willing to be an outlier. That's massive.
Thank you. Well, of course, along the way, I had some ups and downs, and
well, you're human, Fatma. I mean, of course, people are going to have these ups and downs. I mean, having a strong mindset and making a decision to be successful does not mean you're a robot. It doesn't mean that suddenly you walk on water and have no, issues. It just means you've made a decision to be successful. What do you think about that?
Yes, I want to think about that. Yeah, I want to believe that. Yeah, I think that's true.
Well, anybody that takes 12 trips to frickin' Turkey, Fatma, I mean, and has an entire village pulling for her, I mean, it's incredible.
Yes. Yeah, and it makes 6.5 around the world trip. I mean, Turkey is not very close. I mean, I even counted the miles, 163,000 miles.
And I bet you would do it 10,000 times over to hold your son.
Yes. He's super sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're also teaching us a really powerful lesson, Fatma, about persistence, because a lot of people, you have 1, 2, 3 failures and people throw in the towel. Oh, I can't do this. This isn't for me. But there was something in you that kept saying, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to find a way. And look, you made the seemingly impossible possible, because on paper, Fatma, because I had miserable numbers too. You know what I mean? Like they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, but wrong with me. But on paper, most people would have run away, right? This woman is hopeless. Just go adopt, go get a donor egg, because you're too old and you have, terrible quality embryos. You only had one, that came through. So talk to us about that. Like, what had you look past all that?
Well, I mean, as you said, there are a lot of doctors that told me, like, flat out, that just, you should look into other options, like like donor eggs or adoption and all these. I think knowledge also is power. I wanted to read, and I read a lot of books, not only online forums or anything. I wanted to actually read credible books along the way. So that's how I actually found out about you and some other people. So it, I mean, the information was there all along, and I just actually, I was very lucky to get it. And so first one is information, like the books. I would say I'm a bookworm and I love to read. So the books gave me actually a lot of information. And I think the second one is my husband. He always believed in this. I mean, he never said one time, like, why are we going there? Like we put our life on hold, right? I mean, imagine with all these trips. I mean, I was lucky that I have my own business, but still, I lost a lot of clients, and I couldn't service them. But it was, I think, my immediate circles, like my husband, my parents, they all believed in it. Like,
And I think another thing about you and your story and your journey, Fatma, that is so inspiring is you didn't make any excuses. You didn't say, oh, that's too much. That's too many trips. I should be saving for retirement. I can't possibly lose any clients. I mean, the most successful people in the world are willing to risk it all. And in so many ways, you're living proof of the payoff when you're willing to take those risks and when you're willing to follow your heart. Because, like we were just discussing, I'm sure you would do it all over again just for the moment that little boy calls you mama.
yes, yes. Even now he smiles. It's just like it melts my heart.
Wow. I mean, this is so incredible because when let's put this into context.
Mhm,
So you froze your eggs at 38. You were
mhm.
having the diminished ovarian reserve. You found out that, in thawing those, they weren't great. You got pregnant naturally once and miscarried. I mean, which is a miracle. That's so beautiful. And then you had to keep going back. You had the myomectomy surgery, flying all over the world. And you had this one chance.
Yeah. And also, I wanted to mention I had also adenomyosis.
Yes.
I don't know if you
Uh,
know, adenomyosis is
yes.
the
Very
material
familiar.
of uterus, and it makes everything so complicated. Not only that, it just and they had to put me on Lupron for
Mm.
twice, maybe total 6 months, and that was brutal too. So it was, yeah. I mean, yeah, all these.
You had so many reasons to just give up, Fatma, but what you're showing us at 44, at a time when probably many people would have given up, many people would have tapped out and said, oh, this is too much for me. You believed in this dream enough to keep going. And today you get to hold, when we're done here, you get to go immediately hold your sweet boy.
Yes, yes.
It's incredible, Fatma. And so what would you want the women listening to know? Because clearly you're demonstrating that, you had to be willing to do what it takes, but you also had to have the mindset of a woman who succeeds. And you clearly do. So what would you want the women listening to know?
I wanted to tell them that mind and body are totally connected, right? We actually, and especially for me, I would literally have pain if I have stress. Like I would get headache. I mean, a lot of people do. So we have to remind ourselves that like our mind and body are connected, and we have to, whatever we believe, we can somehow manifest in our bodies. It's not always perfect. We may not have it, okay, I'm thinking to become pregnant, I'm going to become pregnant. No, not like that. But at least we could eliminate the stress so that we could provide a fertile environment for this pregnancy to happen, right? If you're always stressed, then how is it going to actually end up? Like when you have the embryo transfer, they always say, okay, stress affects, I mean, which I believe it does. So number one thing I would recommend is to just understand that mind-body connection and kind of work on it. Everybody is different, whatever your comfort level is. And also that you mentioned your desire to become a mom is meant for you. It just like put it everywhere. Like I am the one, like I have so many journals. I have so many like notes on my iPhone, like everywhere, like post-its. My husband thinks I'm a little weird in that sense, but I mean, I have to keep reminding myself this is meant for me. So I think, of course, research is important for that. I think having somebody like you is very crucial, because I had terrible mistakes of like trying different clinics where, I mean, I spent so much money. I mean, it's like in Beverly Hills Clinic. I mean, it was like totally different story, but I had spent so much, I wasted so much money. Not only wasted money, I wasted my precious time and hope and everything. So you don't have to invent the wheel. You can actually find really good resources, and it will create a shortcut for you. Sometimes you don't want to listen what people are saying, right? Some people will say, okay, let's try, just try. I mean, I'm the person that I hated that. Like, why? I mean, it shouldn't be. You have to give me, like, you have to tell me, Fatma, this is what's going on. But if we do these and these, we have this percent of success, and we'll hope for the best. But we're actually eliminating these issues. Like my doctor, I mean, she's amazing, and that's what she told me. She said, you have to get the myomectomy. We can't put this precious ones to this uterus because it's going to ruin everything. So, but it was very difficult for me to hear it, but at the end I accepted it. So just do your due diligence and listen smart people, and believe in mind-body connection.
That's so massive, Fatma, because I think people don't want to look at this mindset piece. They just go and they want somebody to fix them. But there was so much in you. I mean, you were clearly getting the right medical attention.
Yes.
You were clearly covering the physical, but it was the mind and the spirit that when you bring these two things together, you have babies at 44.
And I my own like eggs.
Your own eggs, and that was your dream.
Yes, that was my dream.
You made your dream come true, Fatma. And, I think it's so beautiful too that and this is a hard lesson for people to learn, that, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. And there's nothing wrong with saying, yes, I'm doing the physical, but I will do the mental as well, because the mental is what keeps you on the path. Because as you were even saying, your logical mind was telling you, why would this ever happen for you, Fatma?
Exactly.
Why don't you just give up? So logic, I think that we're seeing more and more that quote unquote logic is really fear.
Yes, probably, or anxiety or whatever. Statistics. I will be the statistics, and it's not going to work.
Right. And what's here in your heart is truth. And you, Fatma, are living proof of what happens when you're willing to follow the truth. And I'm just so thrilled that you that you said to yourself, I could be on that podcast. That could be me. And look at what you're doing today.
Yes. And even some episodes I listen more than once. It's just like, that was my pleasure to listen. It just it was my dream.
You made 2 dreams come true then, woman.
Yes,
So that's incredible. And and it's such an honor to be a part of your life in this way. And thank you so much for the kindness and the generosity that you're showing us all here in sharing your story, because I think that one of the most powerful ways that we serve is by sharing our stories, but it's also a really great way to teach that, other women could be at the end of their rope today. They're going to hear this podcast, they're going to hear your story, and they're going to say, you know what, I want to be like Fatma. I want that. I want that too. And so, and I'm sure you would tell them if you could do it, they could do it too.
Yes. It's possible. It's just, you're not statistics. It's possible. And thank you to you. It's just, with all these things that you share and all things that you do, it's priceless. It's, for anybody on the journey, they have to, it should be prerequisite, like before your IVF, just have all these podcasts, then come back.
I'm working on it, Fatma. I'm working on it. So,
yes.
So that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being with us. Go and be with your baby boy. It just being able to hear. I remember when you sent me that message telling me that he was born, I was over the moon. So, and I was so happy for you, and I'm so happy for your family. And thank you for really giving us an example today of what it means to be a woman whose, hair is on fire for her dream, and for a woman that truly believes that the desire in her heart to be a mom was there because it was meant for her. Thank you for that, Fatma.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Love this episode of the Fearlessly Fertile podcast? Subscribe now and leave an awesome review. Remember, the desire in your heart to be a mom is there because it was meant for you. When it comes to your dreams, keep saying hell yes.